You are sitting beside a body, someone you knew, someone who was alive yesterday. Maybe they shared food with you, maybe they laughed beside the fire. Maybe they fought next to you, walked with you, slept near you, and now they are still. Their chest does not rise, their eyes do not follow yours, their body is there, but the person is gone. This is 250,000 years ago. There is no funeral home, no priest, no scripture, no coffin, no graveyard, no clear ritual that tells you what to do next. There is only the body, the silence, and a question every human group has eventually had to face. What now? Do you leave them where they fell? Do you move them away from camp? Do you cover them? Do you come back? Does it matter? And somehow, again and again, across continents, across species, across hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors kept arriving at the same strange answer. The dead should not simply be abandoned. Something must be done. For a long time, scientists believed burial was something only modern humans did. The thinking was simple. To bury the dead, you must understand death. You must remember the person. You must imagine meaning beyond the body. You must have a mind capable of symbols, grief, and maybe even belief. So burial was treated as proof of a modern human brain. But then a cave system in South Africa made that idea much harder to defend. Deep inside the Rising Star cave system, researchers found the remains of Homo naledi. This species had a brain much smaller than ours, about a third the size. By old assumptions, they should not have been capable of complex burial behavior. And yet, deep in those dark chambers, bodies were found in positions that some researchers argue looked deliberate. Not scattered randomly by predators, not washed in by water, not thrown into chaos, placed, protected, covered, maybe even returned to. If that interpretation is correct, then burial may be far older than we once imagined, older than modern humans as we know ourselves, maybe older by more than 100,000 years. Think about how strange that is. A small-brained human relative carrying bodies deep into a cave, through narrow passages, into darkness, with no obvious practical reward. A dead body cannot hunt. It cannot gather food. It cannot defend the group. Moving it costs energy, it creates risk, it takes time. From a cold survival perspective, it makes almost no sense. And yet something about the dead mattered enough to do it. Now, we have to be honest. This is still debated. Not every scientist agrees that Homo naledi buried their dead. Some argue that natural cave processes could explain the positions of the bones. Others question whether nearby markings were intentional or meaningful. The argument is not finished. But that is exactly what makes it fascinating. We are watching science wrestle with one of the deepest questions of all. When did death become meaningful? When did a body become something you did not just leave behind? Before we talk about ritual, we have to talk about the practical problem. A body left in the open changes quickly. It begins to decay. It smells. It attracts insects. It attracts scavengers. It can bring danger close to camp. And for ancient humans, that was not a small issue. A decomposing body could threaten the living. So the earliest burials may not have started as spiritual acts. They may have started as survival. Move the body away. Reduce the smell. Keep predators out of camp. Protect the group. That explanation sounds simple. But simple does not mean shallow. Because once a group begins putting bodies in a certain place, that place changes. It becomes remembered. This is where she is. This is where he was placed. This is where we go when someone is gone. The practical place becomes emotional. The emotional place becomes sacred. The problem becomes a ritual. And that may be one of the oldest patterns in human history. Survival turns into meaning. By the time we reach the Neanderthals, the evidence becomes stronger. Neanderthal burials have been found in several places. Bodies placed in pits, sometimes with objects nearby. Tools, animal bones, other items that seem to have been placed intentionally. And once objects are placed with the dead, something changes. Because a corpse does not need a tool. A corpse does not need food. A corpse does not need a weapon, unless the living are imagining something beyond the body, or unless they cannot stop seeing the dead as someone, not just something. That is a huge mental step. The body has stopped moving, but the relationship has not stopped. Then we come to Homo sapiens, our own species, and the burials become even more elaborate. A child carefully placed in a grave, bodies covered with beads, ivory ornaments, shells, tools, objects that took hours, days, maybe weeks to make. Some ancient communities buried children with extraordinary care. Thousands of beads, rare materials, weapons or ornaments placed beside them. Imagine the labor behind that. People who were already struggling to survive spent precious time making things for someone who could no longer use them. That is not disposal. That is grief made visible. And grief, even in prehistory, was not always simple. Some people were buried with great care, others with almost nothing. That tells us something uncomfortable. Even tens of thousands of years ago, death was not always treated equally. Some lives were marked more heavily. Some losses were performed more publicly. Some people carried status into the grave. We still do this today. A large funeral, a small funeral, a monument, a quiet burial, a public memorial, a forgotten name. The emotion may be ancient, but the way societies display grief has always been shaped by status, resources, and memory. Still, burial is not only about status. It is about refusal, a refusal to treat death as nothing. This is not unique to humans in its emotional root. Elephants linger near bones. Chimpanzees have carried dead infants. Crows gather around their dead. Many animals recognize that death matters, but burial appears to be something different. Burial is grief turned into action. It is the living changing the world because someone has died. And that may be what makes it so powerful. A body is placed. A pit is filled. A stone is moved. A cave is chosen. A bead is made. A mark is carved. A memory becomes physical, but we must remember how little evidence survives. Most ancient burials vanished completely. Wood rotted, cloth disappeared, bodies dissolved, markers fell apart. The burial sites we know are accidents of preservation. A cave stayed sealed. Soil chemistry protected bone. A glacier froze a moment. A flood did not destroy it. What we have is not the full story. It is a tiny surviving fragment, which means the real story of how ancient humans treated their dead is probably older, richer, and stranger than anything we can prove right now. Every new cave could change the timeline. Every old bone studied with new tools could change the story. And every discovery brings us closer to a moment deep in the past when someone looked at a body and made a decision. Do not leave them here. That may be where funerals began. Not with temples, not with written prayers, not with marble stones, but with someone in the dark deciding that a life could not simply vanish without being marked. That decision became burial. Burial became ritual. Ritual became memory. Memory became the way humans carry the dead forward, and we are still doing it. When we light candles, when we visit graves, when we keep ashes, when we save photographs, when we say their name years after they are gone, we are repeating something ancient, something older than civilization, maybe older than our species as we understand it. A body stops moving, but the living cannot just move on, so we make a place, we make a sign, we make a story. And in doing that, we say the same thing our ancestors may have been trying to say in caves hundreds of thousands of years ago. You were here, you mattered, and we will not leave you as if you were nothing.